I have to say, I'm really digging that opening for the show. It's something that just is fun to look at, it's fun to listen to. I think they're doing a hell of a good job at really making you say, this is, at least for me anyway, one of my favorite openings that I've seen this season. But the thing that made episode 2 so remarkable has to be that Chisato is one of those characters who naturally is sinking into that best girl role without much struggle. I mean, she was great in episode 1, but episode 2 really sold me on why I think she's the star of the show, even more so putting that focus on her and Takina's relationship, because it was very much clearly established in episode 1 that her no-kill attitude versus her gun-ho, guns-a-blazing attitude would be a very interesting dynamic, and to see how each of them might influence the other. Most importantly, how someone who doesn't kill him still kicks ass and takes all the names would be able to show someone who doesn't really see the value in not killing, and how that would evolve her character. But I think what made it so interesting is that, unlike a lot of characters who don't kill, she doesn't come across as not thinking things through clearly. Because I think the scene with her in the big gunfight, right? You know, there's a lot of bullets flying. There's AK-47s, it's hell. I mean, our girl is shooting with real bullets here, hits quite a few, and clearly, had they not been patched up, they would have bled out and most likely they would have died there. But then we see with Chisato, with her rubber bullets, I mean, somehow this girl is able to do some Matrix level bullet dodging. I have no idea what type of sixth sense she was enabling there, but the fact that she was literally walking and dodging, it wasn't even just like the dude couldn't aim because his one arm was wounded. That might have played a bit of a factor, but it was more like she could just like pause time around her, see where each bullet was, and navigate like the most beautiful dancer. And the fact that she kicked his ass, but then immediately patched him up, like has shown us over the past 2 episodes. And what I like about it is that she really gets across, like, she recognizes who's evil and who's not. And yes, they may have been shooting guns at us, but think about it from a logical perspective, right? Are they really these evil people, or are they just trying to go home to their family and this was the hand they were dealt and the role they're playing? And depending on perspectives, we could look like the evil person depending on what was explained to them, right? So I like the fact that she's not coming across as like everyone deserves life or, you know, no one can do wrong. It's more so, I'm skilled enough that I can take care of them without killing, and in most cases, they're worth patching up. Like, I'm fully convinced that if that dude would have said some horrible shit to the point of like, I'm gonna go kill the entire world, she probably would have continued to patch him up in that way and then probably thrown him in the slammer. But I think if push came to shove where like it was her life versus his, I mean, I kind of feel like she might be able to go the extra mile. It's just she's so skilled that it doesn't feel like she's needed to up to this point. And I think for someone like Takina who's just so cold, who's so, I don't care, we're permitted to kill. It doesn't matter if the client that we're protecting has what they're saying a valuable item inside. I'm going to use it as a shield rather than the other objects in this room. You can see the just shocked reaction because afterwards we clearly see that the real target was inside the suitcase, so that would have been very bad had it not been as bulletproof as it was made out to be. But I love the fact that she very much feels like she's not completely wrong in the way that she recognizes everything worked out because seemingly the client got killed, so they pulled back and they considered it a mission success. Had Takina been able to, you know, maybe cool her head a little bit and stuck around with Chisato, they all would have went out a different way, and most likely no one would have been shot at. But I think there's so many different arguments to be made about that outcome that both agree with each of their mindsets. One, because of my gunslinger attitude, everything worked out. On the flip side, the only reason that Takina wasn't actually shot at and potentially killed herself was that Chisato helped the man and showed compassion, who then in return told her about the snipers that were waiting in the background. So it's going to be fun to see how these two are going to bond, because they definitely are going to butt heads, especially when it comes to combat, but you're already seeing, I think in the simpler moments, her opening up more, because look at the train scene, right? Like when they're going to their destination. She's sucking on some jelly, a snack, looked like probably some equivalent of like an energy drink, but in jelly form, and she has this nice homemade meal. And then she starts feeding her. There's not this like hostility in the way of like, I don't need friends, I don't need compassionate things around me. She eats it and she enjoys it and she shows a little bit of flusteredness, but it's not to the point of like massively changing her character, but you're just seeing the influence already being applied to her, which in return is shaping her to being more human than what she started out as in episode 1. And it's a pretty gradual but very noticeable shift in her character, and it's hard not to look at Chisato, in my opinion, as best girl status of the season, or at the very least fighting for that, because she's badass, she kicks your ass, she takes your names, but she'll also make you dinner. That ain't best girl, I don't know what is. I'd honestly argue that this episode was way more enjoyable than episode 1, because episode 1, while it served as an amazing setup and premise, what the hell am I watching? Just the juxtaposition of the different styles of anime that it wanted to be. I felt like now that we're acquainted and had a better understanding of what it truly wanted to be, it let this episode really take hold as they start their day in their little cafe to immediately loading their guns and showing the James Bond level of concealing, like the one briefcase, like it kind of unfolds so it's not in the zipper compartment, but she is locked and loaded if push comes to shove. And it's just still really well animated with the fight scenes. They're actually pretty dynamic with the gunplay. Often it's just like cover-based shooting, which is realistic because it's not like you're Call of Duty or running and shooting. But it's interesting to see how they can blend the tactics meets almost supernatural, like in the case of her dodging bullets or the fact that she's laying on the ground taking cover fire. Just a lot of really cool directing, and just it's hard not to have a grin watching Recoil if you ask me. I mean, the thing I'm interested in, definitely after the setup, I mean, I have my suspicions, but I mean, given that the cafe probably serves a lot of normal people at the end of the day, I wasn't necessarily expecting him to turn out evil, but the dude who starts the episode and then ends the episode, it's interesting because he's now taken a very big notice in this place because one of the bodyguards is someone he recognizes from here, and the fact that he's asking questions and the fact that the so-called target is now working for them. I mean, there's a lot of potential for some drama and some even crazier shenanigans than what we just witnessed here. But I mean, if they needed to sell me any harder than episode 1 already did, I was pretty confident I was going to like this one, but episode 2 was what really said, you know what? This is a show I need to watch every single week this anime season. You don't get a lot of like shows, especially when it comes to anime, TV anime that is, that are gun-oriented in the way of like you're seeing characters shoot left and right. Sometimes they actually get shot and bleed in the case of the real bullets, but even when it comes to the rubber bullets, they do a good impact to it to make it feel pretty violent. And before the kind of bait and switch of the death scene, I was fully convinced that this whole squirrel robot dynamic, which I mean, holy shit, I thought we were watching Fast and the Furious at one point, given how crazy they've gotten recently. The fact of the matter is, like, they shot the shit out of that, and that was pretty graphic. I thought the reason it was so graphic was because they're technically in a suit, so you could get away with more gore than you could if they were just a standard anime human. But what a bait and switch to say, like, holy shit, I wasn't expecting that to be bulletproof, given I thought they were just cosplaying at the end of the day. But it's going to be fun to see the different types of weird shit that's going to pop up, because in episode 1, we got a good sense of their daily slice of life, delivering orders and just doing normal things. And with episode 2, we got a bigger taste of what their day-to-day activities could be if they do need that side pistol when they're going out on their day-to-day adventures. But another great episode, even better than last week if you ask me. But thoughts down below, you going to keep watching this one? And what do you hope to see in episode 3 if you are going to continue? Let me know down below, leave a like if you enjoyed, and subscribe if you're new around here. Till next time everyone, please take care and have a good one.